me a wonderful introduction. So today I'm going to talk about Islamic Fintech. Although like some of you might consider this terminology very strange, but later on in the discussion we will explore it further. And that's why I think that the theme is exploring the new frontier for Islamic finance. And myself, I'm based in Dubai. I have co-founded a company called Alif Technologies recently. And basically the focus of Alif Technology is to provide consultancy advisory for Islamic fintech, educational programs, and also corporate trainings. And we also do some product development because some of the products are basically underway, and we are in the midst of preparing the POCs, proof of concepts, for those products. If you would like to know if you'd like to know more about us, then you can visit our website aliftex.com, which is also mentioned on the screen, and also we have YouTube channel where you can find other videos as well. So without further ado, I will just proceed with the topic of interest today. So let me start with the fintech first. So I will just go through with the conventional, if you may call it, or non-Islamic fintech first. So like giving you a general idea of what is fintech and what are the impacts and the core technologies of fintech. And then from there, we will move on to a very unique case study. And I hope that everybody would find it very interesting and also very new and unique, which is about open banking. From there, I will move on to discuss about Islamic fintech and what is basically Islamic fintech and how we can define it, describe it, and what are the key features of Islamic fintech. And from there, we will also have another case study, which is about crypto assets in the end. And then we will close this session with some recommendations and the way forward. So just give me a head up, like if you can see my screen, right? The slides?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's great. So like first we need to understand that technology and financial revolutions go hand in hand. So like whenever we see a financial revolution, it was based on technological revolution. And also vice versa, that like whenever there is a technological revolution, we see that there are some innovations and inventions in finance as well. So if we understand the technological revolution there and the history of technological revolution, then we will be able to better understand what is fintech all about. So that first, we will just skim through the story of the past revolutions. So first we had Industrial Revolution 1.0. The period of that Industrial Revolution was 1760 to 1840. And the main features were from farms, handcrafts to factories and mills. Now, there were so many inventions during that period, but the major ones which we focus on and which are basically relevant to our discussions were mainly two. Number one is steam engine, and the number two was telegraphy. And why? It's because these are the means of transportation and means of communication. And whenever we see an upgrade in the means of communication, we see that there is an also upgrade in the financial revolution. So we see that because of the telegraphy, stock exchanges were established in London and New York, and we had like formal stock exchanges there. So that was basically the major changes in the Industrial Revolution 1.0. And then moving on to the Industrial Revolution 2.0, which was from 1870 to 1914, we see that there were electricity, petroleum, and steel. And the major inventions of that were telephone and combustion engine. And these were the basically, and also there were other sewing machines and light bulbs, just to understand a comprehensive idea and the whole scenario of that revolution. We have seen other inventions as well. So in the field of economics and finance, We see that like emergence of clearing banks and checks. That was the first innovation in the financial sector. And the second one, the most important one, was emergence of other institutions in which people can save their money and also deposit their money, and then also lend some money from the institutions. So previously, before that, it was not institutionalized. I'm not saying that like there were no savings or deposit products before banking, before that period. And I'm not also saying that people were not borrowing or getting investment from other people, but there was an institutionalization process which occurred in that era. And then we had Industrial Revolution 3.0. So the main features of Industrial Revolution 3.0 were actually from analog, mechanical, and electronic technology, we moved to digital technology. So now this term is very important. Like later on in the next slide, I will be talking about what is basically digitization, digitalization, and digital transformation. So now we need to understand that the basic idea was previously there were some processes which were analog, and then those were converted into electronic through electronic technology towards semi-automation. And then we have digital technology transforming from electronic technology. So we had computer, internet, mobile phones, artificial intelligence, and robotics. These were the major inventions during that era. And if you look at the economics and finance perspective, then we had centralized but global banking and financial system. And most importantly, we also had seen emergence of Islamic finance and banking during that Industrial Revolution 3.0. But now we are in the era of Industrial Revolution 4.0. So now this is completely a new paradigm. Still, some of the people still argue that it is still Industrial Revolution 3.0, but I basically believe that there are major changes in the technological advancements, and because of that, we cannot simply ignore them, and we have to actually recognize and appreciate their contribution in the revolution of industrialization. So the term Fourth Industrial Revolution or Industrial Revolution 4.0 was first introduced by Klaus Schwab. He's the executive chairman, of the World Economic Forum, and he tossed this terminology, Industrial Revolution 4.0, in 2015 at the World Economic Forum. And the definition of IR 4.0 is that it is the advent of cyber physical systems. What is a cyber physical system? So it is actually the integration of computation, networking, and physical processes. So from there, now you can understand that computation means like digitalization, number one. And then not only that, like you are doing digitalization in silos, but you are also sharing that digitalization process through networks. And this is only not like a binary approach that either you are you have a physical process or a digital process, but you are trying to combine all of them. So the computation and digitalization process is being shared through network with the physical processes. So that is basically the idea behind IR 4.0. So now I believe that the period for this is 2015 till present, and then we will have some more exciting and some unique and advanced technological development in the future as well. And the main features were from digitization to digitalization and digital transformation. These are actually three phases. So I have seen so many people using these terms interchangeably, but there is a slight difference between all of them. So number one is digitization, which means that like you have a analog process or a manual process. So you try to digitize it in terms of that like you can store the data in soft copies and in digital form. So that is basically digitization only. And then you have digitalization where the processes of storing data becomes digital. So like you are using different types of devices, and for example, if I give you an example, I can say that accounting and auditing, this is process. So like previously, when you had registers and balancing sheets and the trial balances, all written by all of them were handwritten. So that is basically manual process or analog process. So from there, like you started inputting that data into digital devices and storing the data into those digital devices. So because of that, we can say that like digitization process took place. But if you store that data also, I mean, not only the storing of the data is in digital devices, but also the process of capturing the data and data input is also in the digital form. Then we can say that that is basically the digitalization process. And digital transformation is something which is completely different, because their technology dictates your business model. Now you have to change all the procedures, all the business, the whole business model, and how an organization works, so that like you can achieve digital transformation. And similarly, we need to understand that previously there were some technical developments, but now these have become technological disruption. So there is again a difference between technical development and the technological advancement. These are two again different terminologies. Technical development is like when you actually introduce something in a manual process, so that like you introduce a formula or some technical skill in that one, in that process. So then this process becomes efficient, and because it is a recurring process, and then you need it, and then you can find a pattern in it, and then you basically try to solve the pattern with the formula. So that is called technical development. But technological disruption is completely different, because where machines will try to basically replace human beings, not in the sense, in the negative sense, but maybe, I mean, I am actually neutral about it, that whether it is negative or positive, it's all about how you are using machines, how you are using the technology itself. So replacing human beings to be in a work which is like repetitive and there is a pattern in it. So we see that in digital transformation and technological disruption, there are some emerging technologies. For example, blockchain, smart contracts, and then we have data analytics and predictive analytics, machine learning, deep learning. Now, these are the three different stages, like machine learning, deep learning, and artificial intelligence. So previously, it was not possible, because like I said that artificial intelligence and robotics is part of automation, and it was there in the IR 3.0. But why it was not able to capture to become mainstream and capture the most of the processes is because of the absence of data. But now we have big data, and we have computation power to transform that data into information, and then from that information to knowledge. So because of that, we can see that now we have seen the flourishing artificial intelligence in every sector of the economy. And then we have some technological advancement coming up. 5G is one of them, and quantum computing is another thing which we will see in the near future. Although like 5G has already been introduced, but to get this technology into the mainstream will take some time, but not so long. So in a short while, you will see that like 5G technology will be mainstream, quantum computing also. Cloud computing and cloud storage and decentralized databases are already part of the ecosystem. And then we have Internet of Things and dApps. dApps are basically very quite interesting idea, and I will be talking about it later, that what are decentralized applications, and then APIs, which is application programming interfaces. So I will be talking about them later. So let's move on to the next slide. So we have seen that like that was the whole story of industrial revolution 1.0, from 1.0 to 4.0. And then we see the genesis of fintech. Although like personally I also see that fintech phenomena was it was commenced in 2009 when bitcoin and blockchain was introduced. But actually if you see the terminology itself, financial technology or fintech, and also the disruption which it has caused was actually realized in 2014. So it's simultaneously with the industrial revolution 4.0. So that's why I can see that like this is actually a building block of IR 4.0, but it has its own merit, and it has its own impact on on how the financial and the economic world will work in the future. So you see that the focus of fintech is actually four direction. Number one is automation. So like we will see the financial products and services being automated, number one. Number two is decentralization. So they will be offered in a decentralized manner or fashion. And of course, like digitalization is part and parcel of the whole process. Fourth one is disintermediation. Now, I think that most of the people, they undermine this terminology, what is disintermediation, but I think that in the future, it will play a much bigger role, because disintermediation is a very powerful tool which has been given to us by fintech. So we will see in the future that financial intermediaries will try and will be struggling to find their contribution and role in the future of finance. And when I will be talking about open banking, then you will definitely see that what I have meant here. And I would like to add another D, which is disaggregation. So disaggregation is actually another concept. So previously what happened was financial products and services were offered in a very good manner. But what happened is that so previously what happened is like financial products and services were offered in separately. But then there was a period when every financial product and services was supposed to be offered to the customer under one roof. So that was basically aggregation process. Now technology has brought us back to the disaggregation process, and I will be talking about it later again in my slides. So let me just continue with the other slide, and then I will be talking about it, that how disaggregation is taking place as well. So now fintech is not something which is a hoax, and it is not let me just see, my slides were stuck, sorry. So fintech is not something which is imaginary and something fictional or futuristic, but there is disruption, there is a real competition, and there is a strategy for that, which is convergence. So there was a very good survey conducted by PwC in the last year, and it was a huge survey where 1,500 financial experts were interviewed, and the results were this, that most of the traditional financial institutions, like 88%, they fear that they will lose business to fintech, number one. And 77% of them, they think that they have to innovate. Now, their old and traditional products and services, their operations cannot survive in the future. So they have to be innovative, and they have to go for inventions to survive in the future. That's why 30% of them have already started investing in artificial intelligence, and 77% of them investing in blockchain. And by 2020, sorry, there was a disrupting message from Zoom actually. So anyway, investing in blockchain is basically by financial institution is obvious. And we see that 82% of the financial institutions which were interviewed by PwC, they see that the convergence is the best strategy. And we will see also that traditional financial institutions will have more partnerships, more collaboration with fintech in the next 3 to 5 years time. So, but we have been talking about fintech, but what is fintech actually? And can we basically start from scratch saying that what is exactly fintech and how we can define or describe it? And because so many people, they also I have they are very good financial expert, but they say that fintech is nothing because we have been using technology in the financial sector for a very long time. So why fintech? So why you are appreciating so much about technology? Finance is finance, and the use of technology will be secondary. But I differ because now I can see that the role of technology has become so immense that it cannot be just simply